Hey everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Title Scoop. So this week we are talking about party walls. I had an agent reach out and ask me if I would do a title scoop on this subject, so that's what we're going to cover today. So first things first, what is a party wall? It's a wall, right? But it's a little bit deeper than that. It's a wall that divides two connected and mutually supported buildings that are owned by different owners, all right? Sometimes they're called party walls, sometimes common walls, shared walls, walls in common. There's a few different names for those, but they are the same thing. It also can stand in different ways. So it could stand completely on one piece of land, or it might stand in the middle. Again, we're going to go over some of that in a little bit about just the differences and how we would handle that on title. The easiest thing that I tell people is think of we've got two houses, duplexes, and they have one wall they're shared instead of having two separate walls. We're just going to have the one that's shared in the middle, which would be a party wall. The party wall is going to be maintained at a mutual cost to both owners and is subject to the use by each owner that's consistent with the rights of the other. So again, that's going to be outlined, generally speaking, in an agreement, but not always. So where do we see them? For the most part, you're going to see these in duplex or townhouse neighborhoods. Sometimes you'll see them in row house neighborhoods. So it's just going to be somewhere where you're going to have these two separate buildings sharing a wall, and we have to determine if there's a party wall. How can they be created? So there's a variety of ways that you can create a party wall. It could be statutory, so your state statute might outline how a party wall needs to be created. Again, that's going to be state dependent, so make sure you know your statute. It could also be by contract or agreement. That's probably what we see the most. We'll see a party wall agreement that's recorded, outlining exactly what the use is, the cost, etc. You can also see it by conveyance or implied or prescriptive easements. So again, a few different ways that you can see these created. If you see something that's a little out of the ordinary, but you think it's a party wall, again, give us a call. We're generally going to have to take exception, but we can help you determine exactly what the exception needs to be. As we discussed earlier, it doesn't always have to fall halfway in the middle, right? So we can have it where it does. Maybe it falls halfway in the middle, and each of the adjoining owners owns it as tenants in common, so they share it, right? It could be right in the middle and each owner owns half. It also could fall completely on one owner. So say I own this property and you own this property, and it falls completely on my property, but is subject to an easement for basically your use and maintenance of the party wall. Or it could also fall completely on your property. And again, same situation. Or it could be exactly in the middle, and be subject to a cross easement. So those are a few of the ways you may see it, and it may be handled a little bit differently, again, depending on how the property was created and how the original owners decided to handle this party wall. So if you determine you have a party wall, and again, there's a few ways that you can do that. One, it might be on a survey. If you're in an area where you do surveys, hooray, you get to see it and it'll be outlined on there. Or maybe something's recorded. If you actually have something recorded, fantastic. Obviously, accept that out and you should be good to go. However, say there's no agreement of record and the party wall is located on the property line, you're going to want to make an exception for the rights of the adjoining owner as to the party wall, and as much of the insured land as is necessary. If there's another example is if there's no agreement of record and the party wall is completely on the insured land, so it's completely on my piece of property, you own this piece of property, we need to make sure that there's an exception as to the rights of the adjoining owner, as to the wall, and as to the encroachment. If there's no agreement of record and the wall's completely on the other land, right? So I own this and we're insuring my property, but it's on your property, we are going to make an exception as to the existence of the party wall, the rights of the adjoining owner in the party wall, and the encroachment onto the adjoining property. Unless, of course, again, you have a party wall agreement and a requisite easement is in there, right? So we want to make sure if we're insuring this land and there's a party wall, we want to make sure that the person does in fact have the ability to use it. And if not, we either may require some type of agreement or we'll need to accept out. So sometimes you will get the question, how do you terminate it? Really what the question is, can we remove it from title? It can be terminated by agreement of the parties, but sometimes what you'll see is it's destructed by, say, something natural, fire, hurricane, earthquake, things like that. You're going to want to look at your state law just to make sure that that is actually a termination. It could be a destruction of the building. Again, you're going to want to make sure that it actually is in fact terminate. That does in fact terminate it. If there is a public nuisance, again, these are all ways that maybe they will be. If you get that question, I would encourage you to reach out to us and we'll help you determine if in fact you can remove it. Otherwise, for the most part, it's going to be exception on your title. So with that, we're going to call it a week and we will see you all next week.